Howdy, Vine Trippers. I wanted to take just a moment before the show begins to tell you a little bit about the Texas Wine Lover website and app. It is a definite must-have for anyone wanting to explore the Texas wine industry. Now, they have a website. It's txwinelover.com, but they also have an app that you can actually download to your phone. You can find it on the Apple App Store or on the Google Play Store for Android devices. And it's going to be kind of your one-stop shop for when you go out to visit these great places. So you get to listen to them here on the podcast or watch them on YouTube to learn about these wineries. But when you go to visit, make sure you're checking out that app, because I'm sure you're probably going to want to visit other places in the area as well. And you can do incredible searches. It's the most comprehensive listing of winery information in Texas. And you can look for wineries in your area to go visit multiple places. You can sort those listings by finding out ones that are kid-friendly, maybe some that are pet-friendly. If you want to look for events or things that are going on, if you want to find those that can host RVs, just about any category you can think of, you can actually sort those listings and find wineries around you to go visit. The app is free to use for you and I. So it's a perfect, again, hand-in-hand tool when you're going out to visit wineries. Listen to them on this podcast, watch them on YouTube, and then start making your plans to go visit and use the Texas Wine Lover app when you go. Now, it can also be a great tool. Maybe you're not even looking for a winery. You just happen to be traveling to some place in Texas, and you just might think, I've got a little extra time. I wonder if there are any wineries in the area. You can actually look them up in the Texas Wine Lover app. You can search either by the name of a winery, or it's got a map view. So you can actually pull up a map of the area around you and see locations of wineries near you and go visit them and support the Texas wine industry. So you got to use the Texas Wine Lover app. It goes perfectly with this podcast. So make sure you check it out before you go on your next trip among the vines. Again, it's www.txwinelover.com, or look up the Texas Wine Lover app on your favorite phone app store and make sure you get that downloaded and use it frequently. You will benefit from it and ask for Texas wines. Let's see the Texas wine industry prosper and go visit some of these fun places that I'm bringing to you on the show. Texas Under Vine, an exploratory podcast to scout out the best that Texas wine country has to offer. I'm your wine guide, Scott, and I'm here to lead you on an auditory expedition to the vineyards and wineries across the great Lone Star State. Each episode will cover a different vineyard, winery, or wine-related business operating in Texas. You'll hear interviews, descriptions, and details about each location that will excite you to visit and experience them for yourself. Ready to plan a wine tour? Use these episodes to choose the most interesting spots for you and your friends to check out. Most of all, enjoy hearing about the rapidly growing wine industry in the state and what makes our wines and wineries the best. Howdy, fellow Vine Tripper. Welcome to episode 62 for the Texas Under Vine podcast. On the tails of our last episode, which featured Westcave Cellars, today I ventured down to what was their old previous location, which is now called Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms, to witness this vineyard that had been planted a couple of decades ago and to meet their new owners and to find out a little bit about their offerings and what they are bringing to the table here in the Texas wine industry. Now, this winery is owned by several people: Brian Paul Scipione, Sam Jett, Lindsay Holderby, and Andrew Escher. They actually purchased the winery back in 2023, but it had previously been owned by some other owners and was actually previously the home, as I said earlier, for Westcave Cellars. Now, in addition to the winery that they have there on site and making wines, and the vineyard where they have grapes growing on site, the farms is not just a little thing they tagged on to the end. It's very intentional, as they do have a farm on site where they are practicing permaculture to make all kinds of produce and things like that that they're selling throughout the Austin and San Antonio markets. They even have a farm school on site where they teach kids all about the processes of farming, which is actually geared to children ages 5 through 12. And it focuses on the permaculture view of agriculture, which is basically a view of agriculture that focuses on preserving water specifically. The kids there learn how to make things like berms, and they plant seeds and feed the animals. And in addition to this farm school that they provide, they additionally do some summer camps and things like that to teach farming to kids as well. Now, in addition to the school, they also have all kinds of weekend events as well as overnight camping on their 50-acre site. And never fear, adults, you're not left out if you want to learn more about farming. They host classes for you as well, in addition to festivals, live music located on their site, amongst other kinds of other fun activities there at Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. And if camping isn't really your thing, don't fret. They also have an Airbnb guest house on site at their location that you can reserve and stay at. If tent camping isn't quite your thing, you could stay at their Airbnb guest house, and they actually plan to build some more of those down the road as well. And now, what you probably came for, the wine. Yes, they actually have 4 different wines that they make and sell there at their vineyard location. And they hope to expand that within the next year or so to hopefully 8 or so different wines. Again, they currently have 4 of their own. In addition to those 4 wines that they make and that they sell, they also have some hand-picked wines from other wineries, specifically organic wineries and things from all around the world, actually, that you can taste while you're there as well, in addition to their 4 Texas-based wines. And talk about family friendly. In addition to all of the fun farming stuff that we talked about earlier, where the kids can feed the animals while you're drinking your wine and things like that, Skip has put his background and experience in managing restaurants to good use here to make sure that all people who come in your party, no matter what their age, have something to entertain them and keep them busy. They have things like a game table with games that the kids can play. He even has a craft table out if your kids want to sit down and create their own crafts while you sit back and enjoy a nice respite from the run of the world with a nice glass of wine and enjoying their patio or their tasting room itself. Even down to the cornhole games that they have outside in their courtyard. There's something for every young mind to enjoy and to keep themselves busy while you enjoy your nice glass of wine. Now, Skip himself is actually very educated in the wine world. He has a very deep knowledge of wines themselves, and he actually, during the summer months, teaches classes there on site to go into a deeper dive into some fun different wine topics. He'll talk about that a little bit in the interview. If that's something that interests you and it's something you want to take a dive into to learn a little bit more in, make sure you check out their website for their class listings. Again, he said he does those during the summer months. Now, in addition to all of the great things that they currently offer and that they have going for you as you come to visit them, since they are relatively new owners to the location, they do have grand plans for expanding and for doing even more things like the aforementioned Airbnb guest houses that they want to put in on the property down the road. They hope to actually add in some more hiking trails around their property, as well as put in what I thought was interesting, a food forest, which is basically like a kind of like a garden in the permaculture world that has all kinds of edible plants, kind of planted like a true forest style. And they want to put that in on the property itself. So you'll be able to go visit their food forest when they get that installed as well. Skip and I were actually able to sit down in the tasting room and visit a little bit about his background, a little bit about some of the history of this location and kind of where they've come from, including their vision of farming and the land and the things that they want to do here at Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. And it was really great to hear from him with his vast wine expertise, his knowledge and experience in management of restaurants and hospitality and things like that, to really get a great true picture of not only what this winery provides right now, but their future and their plans and excitement for what lies ahead for Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms, and their vision for the future for what lies ahead for Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. So without further ado, let's go to that interview. Howdy, Vine Drippers. So I'm here with Brian, or AKA Skip, at Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. And but we're here to learn a little about this location and find out about their great wines and their events. And it's a beautiful tasting room they have here. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Skip. So Skip, tell me a little bit about your background and your wine journey. What got you interested in the wine industry?
Oh, it's such a big question. Basically, I started in the restaurant industry very, very young. I was 14 when I got my first legal job, and I was a dishwasher at Red Lion Inn, the Oak and Spruce Resort, and even Canyon Ranch, all in Western Massachusetts. So I was kind of dumped in that fine dining scene very early. So wine was around me, but and then I went on and I managed a restaurant called Allie's, which was an homage to the fact that it was in the same space as Alice's restaurant of Arlo Guthrie fame.
Oh, okay.
And so I was that was my first managing job, and I got to help pick the wine there. But at the time I was still 18 and and obsessed with travel. Then I was lucky enough to spend a couple years in Europe for college, a year in England, a year in Amsterdam. And then finally I just landed in Austin working on my master's degree. And as you do, as soon as I finished my master's, I went right back to school and joined the ISG's diploma program.
Okay.
And so I studied wine exclusively while managing Magnolia Cafe, which is an Austin staple.
Yeah.
And yeah, for the next 3 years, I doggedly kind of pursued that diploma program. I had the advantage of just being young and having a second job at Twin Liquors, where I was able to buy wine at cost. So I always estimate to people, and it sounds absurd, that I sampled and spit out 7,000 wines in 3 years. And so was able to get my diploma with the ISG. And then I went on and took tests with the WSET and the Court of Masters and the CWS. I figured, why not? I've been studying for so long. It was all fresh in my brain. So I would just take all these exams. So that's what I did.
Just get all those notches under your belt.
Yeah, it was fun.
Well, tell us a little bit about Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farm here. So how did this location get started? How did you get involved with it and so forth?
Yeah, it was actually like a friend of a friend who introduced me to Sam Jett. Sam Jett is one of the co-owners with me, and he's a brilliant young man who studied permaculture and studied agriculture. He grew up in East Texas working on farms, and he's kind of taken it to another level because the style of farming that he does is informed by permaculture, right? And very sustainable. And our values were aligned in as far as how I wanted to make wine. But the most thing that brought us together was this beautiful property. And then we found out we had an opportunity to buy the business. So, not kidding, within a few months of meeting each other, we became the co-owners with Ender Escher of Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms.
Nice. And when was that?
That was October of 2023. Also with Lindsay Holderby was another one of our co-owners.
Okay.
So, and right there, I jumped right in, started meeting with the winemakers, looked at the wines they had, looked at the ones that were sacred cows. I didn't want to mess with those, and then started meeting with the winemakers. We mostly use Texas Custom with Kerry Franklin up in, the High Plains area. So that's where we source our grapes. That's where we have our wines made, all under the Hamilton Pool Vineyard and Farms label. And then we went from there. And then I added a lot of other wines that were also organic and kind of, part of our vision to the program.
Okay. I see you've got vines and things here on site. You took over in 23.
this was, I guess, a working vineyard and winery before that.
Yeah, this place was established in 1999 by Margaret and Alan Fetty, and they named it Westcave Cellars right after the water feature across the street. And then they went on and they moved to Westcave Cellars in 2019, and then the Katners bought it, and they named it after another famous water feature, arguably a more famous one, calling it Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. And that's when we really started the farm program. So we do sell our produce throughout the city of Austin, throughout San Antonio. And we also have a farm school where we teach kids how to farm so that they can eat, hopefully, in 20 years from now.
What kind of things are you producing here?
Oh, just your regular, squash, herbs, eggs. We have cows, we've got chickens, and we have another farm that we contract in San Antonio where we also grow more stuff. So it's a unified vision. We're not just called Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms because it sounds good, but because we really believe that we want to grow the food and then make the wine and put them both together. So we're the ultimate on-site destination for farm to table.
Okay.
So,
but you're not using any of the vineyards here anymore.
Well, we're trying to, we had a couple deep freezes in the past few years. And so I've been working with a new team to get the vines producing. My long-term goal is to graft them into a different varietal mix that's more appropriate to the weather conditions, especially considering the weather conditions are continually changing, right? With these ongoing droughts that we're having in Texas, we need to have a grape mix that reflects that. So in grapes that were planted in 99 and 2012, we're probably, along a different thought process.
A different climate and different things.
Yeah.
Things have changed since then.
Climate changes so fast.
I saw a sad statistic the other day that said Austin is so behind right now on drought for rain that it would take a whole year of rain, yearly average that we normally get of rain, just to get us caught back up to the 0 point.
Mm-hmm.
We're just, it's rough right now, but.
Yeah. That sounds accurate. So
we talked a little bit about kind of the name, but let's talk about the grapes then that you do get. So you get from the high plains. What type of varietals do you typically work with?
So I mentioned earlier, I have two wines that are considered my sacred cows. They're very, and considering we have cows, it's kind of funny to keep using that term.
We just saw a baby cow a minute ago.
The cows have been doing so well. We've had 5 babies this year, maybe 4. Yeah, they're thriving, and the chickens are thriving. The cost of eggs has not affected us.
No one told the chickens that there's a increase of cost.
No, not our chickens. So, the two wines that I do not alter are Gold Buckle and our Spot Sparkling Rosé. And Gold Buckle is a barrel-aged Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc blend. And Spot's a classic Grenache-based rosé, which we make a little bit darker through extended maceration. I like to say it's kind of the rosé that has a red wine nose, but a rosé palate. So a little bit complex, get a little bit of marzipan on there, some really interesting notes, but then it's just like all strawberry goodness on the palate. So, and those wines, sometimes we ship them as far as Florida. Like they have a bit of a cult following. So my other two wines, I do like you would. I look at what grapes have done well this year, what grapes have not done well. I work very closely with the winemakers, and then we decide on the blend that we want to use. And those two wines are Free Love and Love Magic, because all our wines are made with love.
And so those blends can change year to year.
They have, yeah. So when I inherited Love Magic, it was Cabernet Sauvignon and Zinfandel blend. And now it's mostly Sangiovese, which does really well in Texas. Mourvedre, which does really well in Texas. Grenache, which pretty much does really well everywhere, from the Rhone to Australia to California.
Hot climate grapes. So.
Yeah, I mean, it loves Spain. It loves everywhere. And then Merlot, because you got to have that fruitiness, right? So I actually call, to borrow an oft-used metaphor, I call Love Magic our poor man's Pinot Noir. Because it's a lighter blend. It's meant to drink in the heat. We have our beautiful courtyard out here. And that's where a lot of our guests sit. And so I was kind of approached it from the end point rather than the beginning. So not saying, what do I want to make? So what do I need? Right. So Freeload is the same way. It went from a Riesling Gewürztraminer mix, which are both cold climate grapes, to a mostly Muscat Canelli Semillon blend. A little bit of Riesling and Viognier in there to just boost up the
Round it out.
aromatics.
Yeah.
Because as you probably have heard, Viognier does exceptionally well in Texas, so.
And it's a very aromatic grape. So
Super aromatic. Yeah. So those are the two wines that I'm currently featuring. We're very happy that Love Magic did take a silver medal at the Fort Worth rodeo competition. I love that about Texas, how wines are an agricultural product. So they're put in the same category as, the livestock, right? Because that's what we embrace here. It's like, we're very much about our events. We're very much about educating the kids through the farm school. We're very much about just bringing people here and then putting them outside and or bringing them here into the lovely case room. So we have a lot of events that we talked about earlier, including weddings. So, yeah.
Nice. So with the grapes and then the wines you have, what are some of your favorite wines as just personally?
That I'm selling?
No, that you like, that you just
around
enjoy.
the world?
Yeah, just to get to know you a little.
Yeah, no, I love that question. Obviously I get a lot, because of my profession. And usually my first, witty answer is my favorite wine is the one in front of me.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Then my second witty answer is, well, my birthday's coming up. I do love a nice, 1995 Gevrey Chambertin, right? I do lean closer to Burgundy over Bordeaux for the most part. But the one thing that I found when I was studying wine, which is really kind of I think catches a lot of people off guard, especially considering all the places that I've taught in the world. I think white wine is much more deeply nuanced and complex than red wine. So in a lot of cases, my favorite wines are the classics: Meursault, Chardonnay, Montrachet, Chateau de Cam, Sancerre. I mean, just right along those edges. Especially a good biodynamic kind of like Nicolas Joly, Sancerre. And you just have magic in a glass. So. And also a lot of the wines that are coming out of Croatia right now and Armenia. I'm a big champion in general of Georgian wines, right? And Hungary wines. Hands down, the best wine you can get for under $50 a bottle is Egri Bekever, right? AKA Bull's Blood, from the Egers region of Hungary, right?
Yeah.
Which has that fantastic legend that one day the Ottoman Empire come to try to take over Hungary. And they had overwhelming odds. And so the Hungarian soldiers did what you do. They just sat up and drank wine all night.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan.
Yeah, their beards were stained with wine. Their clothes were stained with red wine. And they kind of let fly the rumor that they had been drinking the blood of bulls all night. And in a perfect blitzkrieg match, defeated the overwhelming odds of the Ottoman Empire.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the wine draws from that legend.
Exactly.
And that story.
So,
cool.
Egri Bekever is made with a rare grape called Kek Francos.
Wow. Okay.
So, which kind of suggests it may have French origins.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, of course, a lot of those varietals moved around.
Yeah, I mean,
places,
especially after the Phylloxera challenge hit Bordeaux. Most of the Bordeaux winemakers, they either pack it up, jumped the Pyrenees, went to Spain, or they went all the way to Hungary, right? Or even Romania, which is famous for its Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot and other French grapes. So,
well, what about Texas wines? What are some of your favorite Texas style grapes? What do you think does well here in this climate?
Well, as we mentioned, Mourvedre does really well. Viognier does really well. I like to showcase Westcave Cellars Viognier. It's on my menu. I like to support our ancestors, as it were. Also, it's just so bright and cheery. It's just a wonderful wine. I mean, there's a lot of great stuff being done. Another winemaker I love to feature is everything coming out of Austin Winery. They're daring and they're fun, and they like to do like their Cherasuelo. They had like 100 case run of it last year. I swear I sold 5 cases of it myself because I was just happy to see someone doing stuff like Cherasuelo. And and let's face it, Texas's climate and its drought issues and things like that means that most of the wines in Texas are made in the winery and not the field, right? The old saw is that you can't have a great wine without great grapes. I think Texas is trying to prove that wrong every year.
Okay.
So
Takes the challenges that we have here and still make great wine from it.
but you can still get good grapes. You just have to, you get great grapes, right? It just takes a lot more care and attention than it does in, say, a Mediterranean climate or a continental climate where you can just kind of let the grapes be, right? As it is, I come in once a week and walk through my vines at the bare minimum because
Definitely
I just,
take a lot of attention.
Yeah.
So, and you process, you said they're all processed up in the High Plains,
All
custom
processed
crushed
in the High
and
Plains,
bottled
custom
there,
crushed,
brought
bottled. Yeah.
Okay.
We designed the labels. We have some really beautiful labels. And then I just ship them here, which is not that,
Do you have any say in, how the blends are done and the effects of the wine, or does the
I mean, I go
there?
up and we try to taste the wine individually and then taste them as blends and, talk about it. But I put a lot of faith in my wine maker, Carrie Franklin. Which is to say, though, I'm hoping to double our output, right? 4 wines is great, but by the end of this year, I hope to have at least 8 wines. I want to introduce a second label, right? Because another thing we do a lot of is larger events. We did the Ulin Festival. I have my eyes on doing more festivals like that. We're at the Mueller's Farmers Market every week. So we go through a great volume of wine. And most of that's outside sales. And so I want to create a wine specifically for that market. Again, starting from the end rather than the beginning,
Okay.
So
So you got big plans then coming up.
Oh, we have lots of plans.
Well, you've mentioned a few times the events and things you have here. Let's talk about some of those fun events you put on in the farm school. I'd like to know more about that. So fill me in on some of those things.
Yeah. So the farm school is right on our property, right on the farm. It is exactly like it sounds like. The kids play in the dirt. They learn how to dig things called berms and swales, which are part of a permaculture idea of conserving water. They, plant the seeds or they interact with the animals. They get to feed the chickens, and it's for any kid between, I believe, 5 and 12. And so we do farm school, or we can also just do summer camp getaways or weekend getaways, or even overnight camping. So, we do all that. We've got a great teacher to student ratio, right? It's always really concentrated on the students. And then we also put on a lot of events. Just 2 weeks ago, we had our spring equinox event. We had 20 different vendors. We had tractor rides, had farm tours to show people, not just the kids. We also teach adults how to farm and things like that. We had a great live music band. We did seed ball making. We did, just all sorts of fun stuff, And we consider ourselves very kid and very dog friendly.
Okay.
Right. We love families. We love large groups. We will, we do a lot of weddings out here. People get married out among the vines. It's a beautiful thing. Then we'll turn the tasting room into a dance floor, But we have a variety of events. We also host painting classes and pasta making classes, all the traditional things you do while drinking wine. At least what my ancestors did while drinking wine.
Exactly.
We do it all, And for example, the spring equinox event, we smoked a whole lamb, a whole pig, and about 20 free range organic, locally sourced chickens. And everything I sell here, from Pasta 123 to Pickle Envy, are local products. Citrianon coffee. So and we also participate in a CSA called Gather and Deliver. So if you want to come in and pick up fresh veggies every week, milk, eggs, we do that too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The whole package.
Yeah.
So, and you're close enough here. So you're kind of out in the hill country, but still close enough to Austin to be kind of a shorter drive for people who come from the Austin area.
I like to say it's half the distance to get all the way out to Fredericksburg, right? We're only about 45 minutes to 50 minutes from Austin. We're also really close to Spicewood and Marble Falls, coming from the opposite direction. And we're really trying to cultivate the local Dripping Springs, market as well. We're part of the Dripping Springs Chamber of Commerce, and specifically Dripping Springs bills itself as the wedding capital of Texas.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So we're on that team as well.
And you got great attractions in the area like Hamilton Pool as well as Westcave Preserve
We had a
and all
ton
that.
of
I mean,
overflow
it's
from that.
just a great place to go to spend a day or, a couple of days out here.
Well, we also offer camping on our grounds. So we have up to 50 acres, right? And so if you want to come drink some wine and, spend the night in a tent, great.
Under the stars.
Yeah. And hopefully by next fall, we're going to have for at least 3 more Airbnbs. We currently have 1 Airbnb and we're going to put in some real fun stuff.
Nice. So you even have like full amenities for people to stay.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then your guest house, that's something that people can find online on your website or something like that if they wanted to reserve that?
You find the links to all these things, including the CSA, on our website. You can join our mailing list or follow us on Instagram. You'll find out about all the events, whether you want to just come for something small, like, a painting class or you want to come to one of the bigger events, with all the fun stuff happening. And we got plenty of space and we really try to honor this space. Everything, again, is inspired by the fact that this land is so beautiful. We love our cows roaming nearby. Kids love to feed the cows. It's very wholesome, and there's good wine.
There you go. So the kids and the adults.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, let's talk about, so listeners getting excited to come in to visit. What does a tasting look like, or what does it look like when they come here? So when somebody comes and they show up and they want to do a tasting, come into the tasting room. Is that is it at a bar? Is it a seated tasting? Do they have a set flight of wines? Do you pick the wines, or what does that look like?
Good question. So, again, we're very casual. We don't do the bar tasting or anything like that. We want to spend extra time with our customers. Like, all my staff is really great and they're really knowledgeable. And so they can come in, they can just get a glass of wine, bottle of wine, and get some cider. I got plenty of drink options for the kids. I've got pizzas and charcuterie boards, and I've got the hummus plate. So a good range of nice shareable, snackable food. But to do an actual tasting, we give them 3 options. You can just do one flight that's going to be all Hamilton Pool wines, all right, our personal wines. Or you can do one flight that's whites and rosés, and one flight that's just red wines. So those are 3 different options. And they range in price from like $20 to $35.
Okay.
So, and we do a good healthy 2.5 ounce pour.
Yeah.
This is not the Napa pour. So it's enough that you can actually tilt the glass and look at the color gradation. So.
And then that's done in here? Can they do that outside?
They can do it outside, yeah.
Okay. So sit wherever you'd like and enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful weather like today's going to be a beautiful day.
Bring your dog, bring your kids, put one of them on a leash or both,
And then that was my next question. So I know we talked about kids a lot, and you mentioned pets a minute ago, but people can bring pets and all of that, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are your operating hours?
So currently we're 11 to 6, Friday through Sunday.
Okay.
As the weather gets hotter, we intend to be open later. We'll probably be open till 8 o'clock during the summer months when it's just too hot to come in the daytime. So we want to accommodate
the sun's going
together.
down later. So
the sunset is so gorgeous out here. It's nice being pitched in this valley. So we're like within a valley within a valley.
Yeah.
So it's always about 5 degrees cooler here than it is in Austin. So it's a nice place to be. And and so if people want to come and watch the sunset, we do free live music every Sunday. Yeah, so we support mostly local, almost entirely local artists. Right? Even Pauline Reese resides in Dripping Springs. So. But yeah, you can catch a new band. You can, hang out inside if you want the AC. I've got a craft table, as you see here, to keep your kids occupied. So yeah, I've been in the restaurant industry for so long that I tend to look at everything from the customer's perspective. It's like, what do the customers want? And I'm here to give it to them, So I worked at Magnolia Cafe for over 17 years.
Yeah.
So I'm used to high volume.
So they're not just going to walk in and get a coloring thing and it's 4 crayons. They got a whole craft table and all kinds of fun things that they can do.
You go out and feed the cows. And I've got cornhole and other games outside.
Yeah.
Giant Lego bricks,
True family-friendly place here for everyone. Something for everyone.
Yeah. But if you want to get a long, boring wine description, I'm here for you.
Oh, yeah. So if somebody wants to dive deep, they can actually...
I actually do wine classes here during the summer.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So my wine classes, you can tell by the titles, they're not the normal. Like I do a class just on rosé, orange, and natural wines. I do a class on wine in the movies. I do a class on women in wine, talk about the important role that women winemakers and promoters have played in the wine world. I do a class on wine legends because not enough people are talking about, T.W. Munson and Andre Telechev and, which normally seems like nerdy stuff. But once you hear the story about how Agustin Harvesti was, eaten by a crocodile in Nicaragua, you realize that there's a lot more to this wine world. So I hope to do a class on wine and war as well, because war has had such a climate change. In fact, one of the things that attracted me to wine is it's literally an opportunity to talk about all the subjects I love.
Okay.
History, food, culture, linguistics, language, travel, different customs, and then the esoteric, talking about terroir. We have a ley line that goes through this property. This property was once blessed by a shaman, right? One thing we had at our last event was a mycology class, which was also taught by a Native American shaman. So yeah, that's the vision.
Yeah. You do typically do those classes during the summer, you said?
I do the wine classes in the summer when people want to be inside.
So
and all my wine classes come with wine.
Whenever you want to go take one of those classes this summer, make sure you go to their website, look for those class listings, because it sounds like some really cool, some that I need to come check out as well. They sound really fun.
It's fun. I made a conscious decision to not just do wines of Italy or wines of, which there's plenty of places in town doing that. And I do a wine tasting 101. And I usually use the International Sommelier Guild method of wine tasting, which is both a simultaneously deductive and inductive approach. So don't be surprised if you hear me start talking about Sherlock Holmes.
Okay. Then tell me about Sherlock Holmes with wine tasting.
So
not to go off on too deep of a tangent.
Yeah. No, I mean, I did open that can.
You piqued my interest.
So the idea is when a regular detective goes into a crime scene, they see a hole in the wall and they see dirt on the floor.
Right.
Sherlock Holmes goes in and he sees a hole in the wall of a certain caliber with a certain burn streak around it. He sees dirt on the floor that is actually a red tinged soil indicating magnesium, which he knows is only found on the Thames River Bridge, right? And then he knows that the hole in the wall is produced by a blunderbuss only carried by sailors, right? So that's what wine tasting is like. This wine has high alcohol. Oh, therefore it is likely that it comes from a hot climate.
Yeah,
exactly. So you look at these different factors and you can deduce where a wine is from.
Okay.
So I believe I can train anyone to be a sommelier.
Yeah.
Right. With enough time, enough patience. And if you take good notes and you use that deductive method, then you can figure it out from there.
Wow, that's really interesting. Fun stuff. Okay, well, back to the taster here for a moment. So do you have any maximum group sizes, or do people need to make reservations or anything like that?
You don't need to make reservations. We love it when you just walk in the door. We also love it if you do make reservations, you have a large party. We get a lot of bachelorette parties. We get a lot of Cadillac Car Club came here recently. I believe Mitsubishi just filmed a commercial out here. We love big parties. I mean, we got plenty of space, but if you give us a little bit of a heads up, it's of course a little bit better because, I can staff appropriately, but we're ready for it.
Sure. Well, what would you say are kind of your busier and your slower times? I know I always have customers who, you got two type of customers. They want to come out when someplace is rocking and full of people and lots of things going on. But then you also have other customers who kind of say, I'd rather kind of go when it's quiet and I'm kind of the only few people there. What would you say your busier or slower times for people to come visit?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. Certainly Friday is a little bit slower. Earlier in the day is slower. At 2:00, we kick off the live music. We kick off the barbecue grilling outside. We love to do Argentinian / Brazilian, open fire cooking at certain events. So you can get both, but for the most part, it's quiet in the off season, and when the weather's great, all Texans flock outside. So,
especially in those spring months and those fall months. Actually, I don't know in Texas if I can say months plural, but we do have a little period of time that is really beautiful weather outside.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a wine club?
We do. We got the best wine club.
Cool. Tell me about it.
I would say it's the best because there's no fees to join.
Okay.
There's no minimum to buy.
Okay.
You can do every 2 months, every 1 month, every 6 months. You can do 2 wines. You can do 4 wines. You can do 6 wines. We want you to be, comfortable with whatever you want to do. if you join our wine club, you get 20% off all the wines. And so if you're worried about if the cost of shipping, don't worry about it because it's covered in the 20% off of our resale prices. And on top of that, if you're an active member of the wine club, you get 20% off everything you buy in the tasting room. You get 20% off tickets to all of the events. You get 20% off the tickets to my wine classes. It's just a really good deal. Yeah. 20% off everything except, of course, commission products. Like if I'm selling someone else's produce, but really, really can't beat that deal. And we can ship to 38 different states.
Okay.
So I have one family in Florida that orders like 6 bottles of Gold Buckle, like almost every month.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes me happy,
Well, then that kind of leads into the next question. So I was going to ask, do you do any kind of distribution, or can people buy wines on your website? Or
our wines are we're building up our retail and division. Like currently it's available at Magnolia Cafe in Austin. It's available at Austin Shaker at the 290 location. My wine's available at the Travis Heights Wine and Spirits right next to the Whippin on I-35. And it's available every Sunday at the Mueller Farmers Market. And today, for example, we're at the Easton Farmers Market. So, we fully, we will bring the wine to you.
Yeah. Do you list where you're going to be at for those different farmers markets at any time on your website or anything like that?
It comes out on the Instagram.
Okay.
And the Facebook so I have a brilliant social media manager, Jamie McGinnis, who does all that.
Yeah.
So, we're pretty easy to keep up with. We also do if you're old school like me, you can just get an email newsletter.
Okay.
So
that way people can see, hey, you're going to be near a farmer's market near me. I want to go check that out.
Yeah.
So I know we hinted at it earlier, but do you have any plans for future growth?
Big plans.
Yeah?
Yeah, big
Anything
plans.
you can share?
Well, like I said, I already hinted that we're building more Airbnbs, right? And we want to enhance the property. We are intending to put in hiking trails. We're building a food forest along the precepts of permaculture, like we was talking about. So we're going to increase our, produce availability. We're going to put in the Airbnbs near the vines. Then we got some further development that we're looking at. And then just continue to expand the retail reach. I think a lot of the things that we're doing right now are really winning, as far as the events we're having and the things like that. So we just really trying to get the word out there. We're under new ownership, and we're, unbridled enthusiasm is like our main thing. So, and we look to expand the farm school. We want to get more kids involved in that. There's also a weekly Monday through Thursday Montessori style school that you can also send your kids to. Again, the same brilliant student to teacher ratio that a lot of people are looking for. And I'm I've been working with a fellow sommelier of mine to produce a vermouth.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I want to produce some vermouth. Like I said, I want to do that second line of wines, right? Which may or may not be under the long monk year of Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. So I might go with something a little more pithy.
Right.
So, and something that's, just at a different price point than we're selling at, because we put a lot of money and effort into our wines, and they're definitely worth it. So lots of things.
Lots of fun stuff coming down the line.
Yeah.
So if you've been here before, definitely worth coming back to check things out and see the changes and to see the new things that are coming.
Always. Yeah. And I'm always featuring new wines. Right. So I would say I have almost triple the amount of the 4 wines, right? So like right now I'm featuring 100% organic Malbec from the Uco Valley. I also have a nice Sangiovese that's made from an African-American winemaker, that we're featuring at the moment. I sell some Italian organic wines, when Austin Winery does something wicked cool, I like to show them my Massachusetts there. I like to put that on the menu. So, the wines are continuously changing.
Yeah.
And also the ciders. Right now, my cider is quite interesting because it's from the Basque region of Spain, and it's actually aged in chestnut barrels.
Okay.
So it's a dry cider, but it's really quite delicious. So
All right. Well, there are a lot of places in Texas that people can go to drink great wine. What, in your opinion, sets Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms apart so that people would say, I have to put that on my list and get there as soon as I can?
Yeah. Well, I've been talking a lot about what our vision is and what we're doing here. And so in a way of kind of answer that question, but I'd like to more directly answer it by doing it in reverse.
Okay.
What the customers tell me they like is they love the wine. They love that it's easy drinking. They love that I have dry and some sweet wines, right? But mostly they love the experience. They love sitting out in the courtyard and reading a book, or watching their kids run out and play. They really respond well to the wine classes and the other classes. I mean, people come in and they make a painting and they go home with something beautiful and they're like, I didn't know I could do this, you know? So, I mean, I think what makes us different is the experience. What we find, like the first time we did a whole pig roast, is people loved it. They loved watching us put the pig on the fire. They loved talking to the farmer. They loved the farm tours, right? Going out with Farmer Sam, who's the CEO and one of my co-owners. They love how invested we are in the place, and it radiates back because they know what we're trying to do here is community first.
Okay.
Almost more so than the wines. Dare I say such a thing, right? But I think that's one thing that makes us stand out from other wineries, which is why, I don't have the small bar, I don't have the small pours. It amazes me sometimes how long someone will take to do a 3 wine tasting here.
Yeah.
Because they're just enjoying themselves so much. They're sitting here, the sun's coming in, the wind is blowing, and they're just sipping their wines. Their kids can go over to the library there, pick out a game, and play. Or we're also a great date night destination. So there's been a lot more of that. If you want to commission it in advance, I will prepare a picnic basket with a blanket for you, which includes a bottle of wine and a bottle of water, and like say chicken salad and fresh fruit and one of my famous brownies. And you can buy that in advance and come take it and picnic anywhere you want on the grounds.
Wow.
So it's very experiential. It's the experience first, I think. So, but that isn't to say that they don't take a bunch of wine home with them. So the wine must be good.
There you go.
And you can be guaranteed that at Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms, they are definitely community focused and experience first when you go to visit them. From a wealth of local products that they sell on site to all those great family activities, they also have these great wines from Texas that you can go in and enjoy and experience from Skip and his team, all the things that they have prepared for you. Okay, make sure and check out their website before you go to visit them. It's www.hamiltonpoolvineyards.com. And on their website, you're going to find lots of great information about the farm school and the different programs and things that Skip mentioned in the interview there. Information about that Montessori school that they actually host, a private school there as well. And links to their farm and community store and even those great wines that they're producing. And don't forget to sign up for their email newsletter while you're there so you can be notified about some of those upcoming classes and events and things they have hosted there at Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms, in addition to seeing their event calendar right there on the website. And as always, don't forget, when you go to see them, make sure you tell them that you heard about them on this podcast, Texas Under Vine. Okay, after Skip and I had finished our interview, he actually sat me down at a table and allowed me to try those 4 different wines that they make and serve there at Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms. It was such a relaxed and fun experience to be able to sit back, drink some great wine libations, and pick Skip's brain just a little bit about some of his fun knowledge that he has about the wine industry. But as you know, I needed to pin down one of these wines to choose for my wine episode library. And surprisingly, it wasn't the one that I thought I was going to pick when I sat down and looked at the descriptions before I even started the tasting. I ended up choosing their Love Magic wine. So this is the Love Magic wine. It is a red blend. It has several different varietals in it, from Sangiovese to Grenache to Merlot and then to Mourvedre. So those 4 varietals make up the blend of this Love Magic wine. And one of the great things about this was it's a very light kind of bodied wine, very easy to sip and drink on, fruity in its flavor. But one of the cool things was that this would go really well, not just as a sipper, but paired with foods as well. It actually has a surprisingly low ABV at 12.5 alcohol by volume percent. And so this is a great wine for entertaining friends or for drinking with different foods and different meals that you may have. And for those who need a little love magic in your life, you've got it in the bottle right here. So that's the one that I purchased for my episode library for this particular episode. And with that, it's time for me to wander on to other great wine destinations around our state to bring you all the great info about great Texas wines and wineries here. But before you turn it off or before you skip on, listen to me for just a second. I got a quick little plea for you. So to all of my listeners and to my watchers, I have brought you this podcast for 2.5 seasons so far. This is my 3rd season. I'm about halfway through. Really excited about the things that I'm doing for you and bringing to you. It's such a pleasure and a treat to visit with great winemakers, taste great wines, and bring this info to you so you can go out and experience these same things that I get to experience. However, I need to ask for help with just one little thing. So the computer that I use to put together these podcasts is kind of on its last legs. It's a 5-year-old computer, and it's taking me a lot longer, sadly, to edit these episodes than it should, because I'm just driving this processor on this computer like crazy. And I really feel like it's time for me to upgrade to a computer that can really handle the editing load and the things I need to do now that I've got video and all these fun things here in the podcast. However, as a teacher, it's a little expensive for me to think about going from a computer that I currently have to a new computer that can handle this load. So I'm going to do a quick little fundraiser throughout the summer to see if you, the listener and the watcher, might be able to help me raise the money I need to get a new computer to do editing and such for this podcast. So I'm announcing a quick little fundraiser for the summer months. I'm hoping to try to raise about $3,000 for a new computer setup for this summer. So over the next 3 months of June, July, and August, I would like to try to raise this money. So I'm asking you for any help you might be able to give. Now, I know some of you are already podcast sponsors through my Patreon. If you would like to become a Patreon subscriber, I would encourage it. It's a great little thing. You get some behind the scenes benefit. You really help me support things with the costs that go into this podcast. And so for those of my Patreon subscribers, I'm not asking anything more of you. You already give so much to this podcast. Thank you so much. You do help me cover my monthly costs. If you're not a Patreon subscriber but are interested, you can get things like behind the scenes photos, extra videos, like a video walkthrough. You can find out where I'm going next, all kinds of fun little benefits. If you go to my website, www.texasundervine, go to the very top and click the Become a Patron. You'll be able to find the link to my Patreon page and become a subscriber there. Thank you if you're willing to do that. And if you're not a Patreon subscriber now, that could help with this if you want to join in on that. But if you're the kind of person that you'd rather just give maybe a one-time donation just to help me along a little bit, my heart would go out to you. There's also a place where you can make a donation there through PayPal or even through Patreon. You can do some one-time sponsorships and donations as well. And so I'm asking and pleading to all of my listeners, if you would even just give $5, $10, every little bit counts towards getting to this amount to be able to get a new computer for my editing. I would really appreciate it. I hate to ask things of my listeners. I'm a giver by heart and would love to just continue to provide you these great episodes without having to ask anything in return. But it is kind of a difficult thing for me. So I'm asking for that help. If you're willing to support the podcast, support the Texas wine industry, go visit these great locations. Go give them some of your money as well. That's the whole goal of everything we're doing here, to make even greater Texas wine and grow our Texas wine industry more so than it even is right now. So that is my summer donation plea. I would ask if you would at least, if you don't want to become a Patreon subscriber, maybe a one-time donation would be great. Thank you so much for everything you do for this wine podcast. Also, on another note, if you've probably heard me talk about on the podcast a few times, things like wine education, through a group called WSET, Wine and Spirits Education Trust. And I've actually gone through 3 levels of the WSET program. Very, very great wine education. Level 1 is amazing for anyone who's just dabbling in wine, or you like wine and you want to know more about it. And I've actually been certified to teach level 1 of WSET now. So I'm actually going to start trying to teach classes for level 1 WSET in the Hill Country area. If you are someone that's interested in taking WSET level 1, reach out to me. Send me an email at scott@texasundervine.com or send me a message on my socials. We're trying to build a class right now in the Hill Country area. And so we need to make sure we've got enough people to take it before we set anything up through the Texas Wine School. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to contact me as well. I'll get back to you and maybe we can set something up and you can expand your incredible wine knowledge and take it right from the Texas Under Vine podcaster, your wine guide, Scott. All right. For those watching on my YouTube channel, make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you would, go down below and leave me a comment. Tell me, what is your favorite thing about Hamilton Pool Vineyards and Farms? If you've been there and you've been able to visit them, but if you haven't quite been there yet, but you want to, especially now listening to this episode, then leave me a comment below telling me what is the thing you're most looking forward to when you do go to visit them. And with that, my time is up. So don't forget, subscribe to the podcast and follow my socials to be notified anytime a new episode is released, and please donate to my summer fundraiser. Yay! All right, thank you so much. And with that, happy trails and bottoms up, y'all.
Thanks for listening to Texas Under Vine. We strive to provide you with the best information about wine businesses all over Texas. Be sure to check out our website at texasundervine.com and follow us on our socials at Texas Under Vine to stay up on all the upcoming episodes. Please email us with any suggestions or feedback. Also, contact us if you're interested in donating, sponsoring, or advertising on the podcast, just to help us cover our expenses and bring even more great info to you in future episodes. Above all, travel safely, and most especially, drink responsibly.
Howdy, Vine Trippers. Before we go, I wanted to direct you to my website, www.texasundervine, because there you're going to find a whole host of things. Besides access to the audio versions and the video versions of the podcast, you can also get those on any podcast provider and then the video on YouTube. But there you're going to find a couple of things. Did you know that I actually sold some Texas Under Vine merchandise? I only have a handful of items available, about 5 different things, but they are up on my store. So if you go to the website, texasundervine.com, and go to the top, you're going to see a link for the merchandise store. And there you can get your own Texas Under Vine swag to proudly show all of your friends that you support the Texas wine industry, and you can get them started on and hooked on the podcast as well, so they can go visit even more of these great wine destinations. But in addition to the store, I also have a Patreon for my subscribers, people that support this show. I do this all out of a work of love from my heart. I do not make any money on this podcast. I'm actually in the red because I support it all out of my own pocket as a teacher. And it's mainly because I love wine and I love the Texas wine industry. So if you're willing to help me do that and you'd like to see more of these great episodes, hear more from these amazing winemakers, learn more about some fun destinations for you to go and visit on your own, I would appreciate if you would be willing to subscribe to my Patreon. So at the top of my website page, again, you'll find a Become a Patron link. And there you can get all the information about becoming a subscriber to the podcast here as a Patreon subscriber. It only costs a few dollars a month if you're willing to commit that. And there are various levels that you can commit to that each give you behind the scenes benefits that you don't get. And I do have some new things in the pipeline coming down soon. So you want to get on that sooner than later. But right now you can get things like behind the scenes photos at different wineries. You can get things like at one level, you'll get a video walkthrough of the winery. So for every episode, I will post a video walkthrough of me taking you through the winery itself so you can see what it's like before you go. And then at one level, you can even find out before everyone else where I'm headed the next week on the show as it comes out. So you'll know before everyone else. You get a sneak peek. So there's just different levels of benefits and they all cost a different amount. And as you subscribe, you become the heart of this podcast. You really are what helps me succeed. You are my community and my people. And thank you so much for those that do subscribe. So if you're interested in joining Patreon, check the Become a Patron link at the top of the website. So again, the website is www.texasundervine.com. You can also go to all of my socials. I'm at Texas Under Vine on almost all the social accounts. And check it out and consider sponsoring the podcast and maybe even buying some of that really cool swag on the merchandise store. Happy trails and bottoms up, fine trippers.